Hello, audio marks coming to you from the Sachem Public Library. Welcome to the Marks for Life podcast with your hosts, Jimmy and CJ, two casuals turned marks wrestling fans to give you a direct line to all things in the squared circle. Enter the ring at your own risk. We pull no punches, we hit hard, and we will slam you with all the info you need to know. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Because
it's Rusev Day!
Or maybe not. Hello and welcome back to Marks for Life podcast. I am your host Jimmy, and I am joined by Joe.
Yeah, that intro's a little misleading this week as CJ is not here.
No, he did say he has given us stuff though, some good stuff and one really really horrible thing, which we'll probably talk about at the end.
Yeah,
of
the
this
thing
podcast
that might have just dropped or is rumored to be happening right before we went on the air.
Oh God, I don't want to talk about it right now, but. On this week's podcast, we will be recapping the entire WrestleMania weekend, everything that happened post-WrestleMania, and what we can expect moving forward. It's going to be a very WWE-heavy episode this week. Are you ready?
Well, I mean, I think it should be WWE-centric, because now we have the glory, quote-unquote, that was WrestleMania.
All right. Let's talk about some of the better things that happened at this week's WrestleMania. We'll talk about NXT. Let's talk about NXT first. Yeah, NXT first.
Yeah, we'll go NXT first. I mean, it happened first, so.
Yeah, it happened first. Arguably the best takeover ever.
Easily could have. It could have easily rode their two top matches and made an incredible pay-per-view just based off of that.
Yeah, and it just blew WrestleMania out of the water. Like, it set the tone for the weekend, and WWE WrestleMania could not reach to that expectation. It was...
No contest.
Oh, God. Every match was good. I think Dave Meltzer gave out his star ratings.
Yes, he did this week.
He gave Gargano and Ciampa 5 stars, and he gave the ladder match 5 stars.
I was a little less likely to give the ladder match 5, but...
Yeah, I know, but... I mean, they were pretty good.
Yeah, no, it was better than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be, so...
And a lot of stuff happened for in between that entire match. First, I want to say, good job, guys, on picking Gargano over Ciampa, because you were right. I think it is dumb. I don't know. I love the match. The outcome could have been different, and I don't think it would have. It still would have gotten 5 stars regardless if the outcome was different.
That final spot though was spot on, just beautiful.
Spot on. The spot was spot on.
The brace TF. We'll call it that.
Yeah, it was. I have to say, this NXT got more violent than any of the other ones.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we knew the ladder match was going to be a spot fest, but the Gargano-Ciampa match was just, I mean, those hits were stiff.
But even Black and Almas and even Baszler and Moon, they were very, very violent. It's like a grittier NXT. That's what I've been hearing around from like a lot of other podcasters and everyone saying on the internet and stuff.
I can see Triple H being the type of guy that like gives them more freedom to work their own spots.
That's true, yeah. Let's see, what else? The tag team match, it ended kind of schmozzy, the kind of the way that we all thought it was going to end. Well, maybe not entirely. I didn't expect the turn, but it was still pretty good. I was very excited about it.
I think what the turn proves is that Kyle Fish's knee injury is a lot more serious than we thought. And I think he's going to be on the shelf for a little while.
Oh, God. That's so upsetting. I love Red Dragon, but, I mean, Undisputed Era now has Roderick Strong in their corner, and, I mean, now Roderick Strong needs to face, Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
At some point. And we'll see for the UK title, and we'll see what happens with that. And Adam Cole is the new North American champion.
Yeah, that was something that none of us predicted.
No, because we did not expect it. But to be fair, they needed both titles.
Yeah, I can see that.
They needed all of those titles to stay relevant because now they're the only real big tag team game in NXT right now.
Well, yeah, AOP's gone.
AOP's gone. That mishmash tag team of Dunne and Strong imploded right before our eyes.
And I have a feeling Sanity's going to be gone pretty soon, too.
Yeah, same. And none of the other ones, as of right now, up until, post-takeover, really stepping up the game. We'll talk about the following NXT after our first break, but that match was pretty good. I liked it. And then we had the women's match. Kind of exactly what we thought it was going to be. It wasn't the best, but
it was the weakest match of the night.
Yeah. Like, I hate saying that because I love Ember Moon. I think Ember Moon is actually really good. I remember when she debuted in Brooklyn or something like that. Yeah, she debuted in Brooklyn. And then she did the top rope stunner, and I thought that was a sick finisher, and then she won. And I thought, like, wow, this is a real future. But, like, ever since then, she's been just downhill.
Well, I mean, she got a great pop when she came out on Raw Monday night, so I think that's a good sign for her.
Jumping ahead, Joe. Jumping ahead. But, yeah, it is because she is exciting to watch in the ring. Like, she has a fantastic entrance, and she does have a pretty good skill set. It's just there's certain things that still needed to be refined. She kind of has, like, that Bayley kind of thing. Where, like, there's certain things aren't refined.
Yeah, she also had that black cloud hanging over most of her title reign with the whole she never beat Asuka thing. So
yeah, so
I would love to see those two clash on the main roster, of course, assuming the shakeup doesn't screw things up. But
well, we'll see what happens with that. And then we had the main event match of Cole and Almas.
Black and Almas. You mean?
Oh, Black and Almas. My bad. Black and Almas. Excuse me. Didn't realize how Almas was this good. Like, Almas blew the water again with another great match.
Yeah, back-to-back takeovers. Now he has just completely set the world on fire. But the right man won here. I think it was Black's time.
No, Black needed to win. But Almas, I think, didn't realize how good of a wrestler he was ever since he debuted.
Yeah.
But damn, just son of a bitch, he was good.
I think he'll be main roster bound, especially with the whole, they gave him a pretty good performance in the Rumble.
Yeah, I know. He's definitely main roster. Definitely next week. All right, Joe. It's time to talk about it.
Do we have to? The 7-hour elephant in the room?
Yeah, let's talk about... Well, I mean, how do you want to go with this? Do you want to talk about Mania first, or do you want to talk about the aftermath of NXT?
I mean, I guess we'll finish up Mania weekend, and then we'll do the week as a whole.
All right, then. So let's talk about Mania. Started off, I'd say, pretty boring, for lack of a better term. Yeah, obviously you had the Andre Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And, of course, it's like a spot. It's a spot. And it's like tradition, and it was good. The only good thing we got out of it was the return of Bray Wyatt, but not as Sister Abigail or Husky Harris, but some sort of Bray Wyatt woken, purged of Sister Abigail, or so we think right now. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but we'll talk about that when we talk about going forward post-Mania.
We expected so many surprise entrants to at least come into that minute. I mean, I have one winning, but I think we all expect at least some sort of... We didn't really get much of an NXT presence in that Battle Royal. We didn't get any legends, really. It was...
No, I think that one was saving for the women. The women had a lot more of it. But
that's true.
Let's talk about my ugly stepchild right now is the 205 Cruiserweight title match between Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali.
Well, the fact that this was on the pre-show also proves that WWE still has learned nothing from Neville walking out last year.
Yeah, I know. It's just nothing. And it gets me so frustrated. Well, first off, let's talk about the entrance for a second. You had a lackluster match. You had a lackluster match to begin with. So let's just go with that. But the way that these two came out, you had one looking like Black Panther, which is great, and that's a great, shout out to like, okay, this is part of the pop culture, and this guy's coming out as Black Panther, and you look great. But let's be honest, we want a New Day to be donning some sort of Black Panther attire.
Instead, we got pancake midgets.
We'll talk about the pancake midgets. Trust me, we will talk about that. Then you have Mustafa Ali looking, I kid you not, a Daft Punk version of Bane mixed with a Power Ranger. It was very interesting.
It was like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat's cousin was really into anime.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
That was the vibe I was getting.
It was very interesting. And then the match itself, like, if it was higher on the card and built better, it probably would have been a great match. But the whole not being built well, the fact that it was on the pre-show, it really hurt that division. And I feel like we need to talk about the cruiserweights at some point in the future of this podcast because I have so many things to say about it.
I feel like it's the same with them with every pay-per-view because you have two guys in the ring that can obviously deliver a quality match, but they never get any build. The matches they have on Raw are always throwaway six-man tag team matches, and if you don't watch 205 Live, then you're not going to see any of the build-up. You're just going to see a match. I mean, yeah, I like Cedric Alexander, but like...
Well, to be fair, the right person won.
That's true.
The person that should have won, I think, against Neville to begin with for the title, won.
The guy who was probably going to beat Enzo Amore at some point.
Yes, won. And this was probably the right thing to do. The problem is that there was no story built into it. And if the idea that WWE thinks that, you don't really need story for 205 for the cruiserweight division, you're wrong. The tournament that happened, 2 years ago? Almost 2 years ago?
I think they're trying to copy and paste that tournament because it worked so well first time.
To be fair, though, the build for the tournament was good.
Yeah.
So I'll give them that. The problem is that they didn't have compelling characters going into the finals. And I feel like that was the same problem that they had in the finals for the Cruiserweight Classic, too.
Yeah.
But at least they had, a built-in story, and it was, really good, hard-hitting matches. The matches were kind of, subpar, but still pretty good. But there was no story. There's a couple stories. You had Drew Gulak and his PowerPoint presentation, who, to be honest, is probably one of the only people who has story. And then the only other person was Buddy Murphy, who is, 204 pounds? 204 pounds and 9 ounces.
Yeah, one Whopper. If he made it to the finals, one Whopper on WrestleMania weekend, he was disqualified.
That guy right there, that was another built-in story of, not a traditional cruiserweight. He made the cut to weight, and it would have been a perfect heel for Cedric Alexander, and that would have made that match better. But they put two guys who are arguably the most athletic, and hoping that it would be the spot fest that we were hoping for. And it kind of was, and it kind of wasn't, and didn't care about it.
I feel like that match eclipses WrestleMania as a whole. Is just the pieces are there, and the match we expected just didn't happen.
And then the final product towards the end of it wasn't as successful as we would like to hope.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about when we get down the road for WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
But the last thing that happened on the pre-show was the Women's Battle Royal. That one was actually better than the men's. I think so.
I feel like, credit to Naomi. I guess she's put a lot into this, but I just feel like the wrong person won.
That's true. I don't know where that's gonna really lead, but there's so many things that went into this kind of match. I was 50-50 on good and bad. You had the NXT kind of group for a second. It was very good.
Yeah.
And then that kind of got destroyed. Then you had the Becky kind of bowling through everyone and then getting eliminated, which was not what we were expecting and not what we wanted.
Right. Two of us on this panel picked Becky Lynch. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had the Sasha Bayley story, which wasn't bad, but then you kind of get completely messed up when Naomi pops up out of nowhere and eliminates Bayley.
Yeah, so it wasn't even Sasha screwed over Bayley. Bayley just, I guess, she wasn't paying attention. I don't know.
To be fair, I don't think anyone was really paying attention at that whole Naomi thing because that was a complete surprise. It was a good surprise for the moment, but that should have been Becky.
Yeah.
That should have been Becky.
I feel like if you weren't going to have it come down to Sasha or Bayley, then you had to have it be because Becky's been the workhorse of that SmackDown division, and Naomi already had her WrestleMania moment too when she won the title in Orlando last year. So I think,
yeah, you could have given that to Becky. Could have given that to Becky. That's really all that the pre-shows wrapped up. Could have given it to Becky.
We can't keep going on saying, well, she was the first SmackDown Live Women's Champion. So yeah, well, if 5 years down the line, it's not going to mean a whole lot.
You got that right. All right, let's kick off to the very first match on the actual WrestleMania card. So we had the triple threat for the IC Championship. Seth Rollins coming out like a White Walker, the Night King from Game of Thrones, which was cool. You had The Miz and looking like a mix between the North American Championship and a ninja from the Naruto Boruto series with the freaking headband metal plate, which looked all right, but obviously the jokes just kept perpetuating forward and forward when me and CJ were watching. I don't know if you or Jared were.
I actually was working during the early part of Mania, so I wasn't able to watch. I wasn't actually able to watch much of the triple threat, but it was honestly one of the better matches of the night, which is usually the case, I feel like, with WrestleMania openers.
Yeah, usually the opener for WrestleMania is usually the best. But then you had Finn Balor come out, and he came out with the LGBTQ community kind of right behind him. And apparently that was his idea that he wanted to do that, to bring some sort of outreach to that community and bring it onto that huge WrestleMania card, which was a cool moment.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think from when he came in, I knew he wasn't going to win.
I feel like the point that told me he wasn't going to win was there was no sighting of the Demon.
Yeah, I mean, because like the whole gimmick is that the Demon's not going to lose.
Yeah.
And there was no sighting of that from that whole build of that story to basically WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, if we saw the Demon, we'd been like, he was going to win. But he didn't. Turns out Seth Rollins won. And he was my original pick at first. But then I switched it to The Miz because I figured, the Miz is going to hold on to it until he switches over to SmackDown and feuds with Daniel Bryan for it for a little bit. And then eventually get the WWE Championship. But that's a whole other mess, and we'll get to it later. But
SmackDown's got a lot of interesting stuff going on right now.
yeah, but for that match, though, particularly, it was a good opener.
Yeah.
Then you had probably the best match of the entire night go number 2 on the card. Oh, I mean, going into it, me and CJ, when we were watching it, were like, what are they doing? This is a match that should have been down further in the card.
Yeah.
As the match went on, we were very engaged. Up until the last moment where 1, 2, 3, Charlotte pins Asuka.
Oh, that was
clean. It was so heartbreaking. Oh my god! I don't know if you saw any of the social media stuff that we were we posted.
I saw a little bit of it, and at this point, I think it was the right person, but it was the wrong time.
I agree, but I have a question: Is Charlotte's undefeated streak at pay-per-view title defenses still intact? Because I felt like we were kind of missed. We kind of like, I don't know what's the term for that. We kind of overlooked that. That's what it is.
Didn't
if
she?
it's,
I
feel like she lost at one point, but I don't remember.
Well, when did she lose the Raw Women's Championship?
She lost it to Bayley, but I don't remember when. I'm gonna have to look.
Yeah,
that up.
was that? I don't know if that was. I thought that was on like a throwaway episode of Raw.
It probably was, because I feel like they kept the streak intact.
Yeah, because like they said nothing about that type of streak. Like after, like leading into Mania, they only were talking about Asuka's streak. They said nothing about Charlotte's streak. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, it did. I think it did end.
When was it?
I have an article from March 5th of last year. Oh, I get. Well, that's a title match because at Fastlane last year, she challenged Bayley for the title and lost.
Okay.
So that was the pay-per-view win streak.
The pay-per-view win streak. Okay, so the win streak. Okay, okay.
But I don't think she ever walked in to a pay-per-view and lost a title. I don't think that's happened yet.
All right, so. All right, so I guess they're kind of keeping that streak intact because when me and CJ were talking about it, he was going off very angrily. Understandably very angrily that they're making Charlotte into the John Cena of the women's division. And I actually disagree with that because, first off, everyone loves Charlotte. She's a better worker than John Cena ever was.
They're turning her into the Ric Flair of the women's division.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like more the Ric Flair. Like, she's going to lose way more times. But when it comes to, like, really big matches and conquering, I mean, as a conqueror in sort of a sense, kind of like a Brock Lesnar-esque thing, but not really Brock Lesnar.
Like a full-time Brock Lesnar.
Full-time Brock Lesnar. That's going to be Charlotte. As much as CJ would have liked it, or even you and me would have liked it to be Asuka. I think Asuka should have went to, like, the 1,000, like, victory kind of area. Yeah. But considering what happened on SmackDown later, which we'll talk about, we understand why that happened.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know where Asuka goes moving forward. I don't really know what the plan is now for her because she actually has no title. She has no streak. I mean, and now you have, as people mentioned, you have new champions on both brands. So where does she fit into all this?
I don't know. All right, the next match that followed this. Oh wait, I forgot one last thing. During the beginning of WrestleMania, we had John Cena in the crowd like he said he was going to be.
Yeah.
And at the end of the women's match, a referee balls out, gets Cena, tells him something kind of, secretive, that we all think that it's somehow related to The Undertaker, and he darts down from his seat all the way to the back to change into his wrestling gear.
And I'm like, wow, Cena must have practiced his cardio, and I'm sure that's going to be put into a meme very soon.
It already has.
I'm sure it has.
It has. It's oh my god, it's the best thing in the world. John Cena sprinting is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Next to the Ronda thing that we were sharing in the group chat that night, which we'll talk about later. The John Cena meme is fantastic.
I'm looking through some of them right now. just have them open online. That's just, I mean, Cena, I feel like he even, like we all knew, I feel like a moment like this was going to come. Unless Undertaker was just going to show up and, like, point to him in the crowd.
I felt like that would have been better, though.
There's so many things that got botched about that, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is the next match, which is technically when he should have ran out.
Yeah.
Considering how terrible this match was. It was the Fatal 4-Way for the U.S. Championship. Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and Rusev.
I feel like a lot of the matches from this weekend, we could have said, okay, it didn't go very well, but at least the right person won. The complete wrong person won this match. I think you could have given all three of his opponents the reasoning to win this match.
I mean, to be fair, though, the right person lost, which was Randy Orton.
Yeah.
He did not come out of the championship for this match, which is the right thing.
I think he could go to Raw.
He could, yeah, but I also kind of want him to take, like, a break.
I think he'll take.
I think we need to take a break, get away from that, and then when he comes back in, like, 3 months or something like that, have him come back, do the RKO thing, because that'd be a nice surprise.
Yeah, it'll feel like a bigger deal. I mean, he's kind of lost in the shuffle right now.
Yeah.
He's not in the main event picture. I think they gave him the U.S. title just to say he has the Grand Slam.
Yeah. Speaking of Grand Slams, so Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is now a Grand Slam champion.
Which I feel like that's becoming way more of a thing now than it was. Like
when it first happened. Yeah, I know.
Now you have all three members of the Shield are now Grand Slam champions. Randy Orton's a Grand Slam champion. It's just...
John Cena's the only one that's not a Grand Slam champion. That's like
he's never won the Intercontinental title. But don't worry, I'm sure Vince is thinking about it. He's got it right up there with World Title reign number 17.
Oh, I think he already has World Title. No, 16?
Did he?
Because he didn't break the... I don't think he broke the record.
I
think he tied it.
Yeah, I think the win... Oh, when the hell did he win the title? It was sometime last year. When
it was the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, when he beat AJ. I think that was 16.
Okay. Oh, God. Excuse me. But the wrong person definitely won, and that was Jinder Mahal. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. Yeah, he's a good heel for very limited reasons, but I don't know. I didn't like the xenophobic kind of thing that he was going with. I don't know. I feel like we've gone, as a society, we're kind of past that.
And I feel like we did this all literally a year ago. Now we were doing this. You know, we were going with Jinder. You don't like me because I'm different, and they're gonna give me a championship so I can prove you wrong. I feel like we just got the taste of Jinder Mahal as WWE champion out of our mouths, and now he's the United States champion.
But I feel like this also has a lot to do with their next big event that's going on at the end of the month.
Yeah, in Saudi Arabia. That card, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah,
It's
we'll
just
definitely
becoming
talk about that.
Cluster.
Oh my God. Jeez. What was the next match? The next match was the SmackDown
Tag Team titles, I believe.
Yeah, SmackDown Tag Teams. You guys were right.
Yeah.
The Bludgeon Brothers won.
Right team won.
I don't know. I feel like the Usos still should have won, and this was kind of my point from before. I feel like the Usos have yet to get a real, authentic WrestleMania moment, and that could have been theirs. And then, like, on SmackDown, you have, like, the Bludgeon Brothers just totally annihilate them.
Yeah, and we got the Annihilation on the WrestleMania cards. I mean, clearly they are hitching the wagon to the Bludgeon Brothers and seeing how far they can take it. And because after all those years of us saying, you know, Rowan and Harper, they're not getting their shot, they're getting buried, you know, they're getting stuck with Bray Wyatt, they're not getting a title shot, and now they're kind of...
Yeah, I mean, Eric Rowan still has a stink of The Rock beating him in, like, 6 seconds or something like that.
Oh well, I'm still thinking of this thing of his babyface run from 2 years ago. When
Oh, my God, I remember that. Ugh, no, stop.
With that weird-ass, like, bongo theme. I didn't even want to think about it.
No, it's not. But they won, and they destroyed... And the right team lost. That was the New Day. They took the pin, I think.
Yeah, I believe they did.
Yeah, because that's going to keep the Usos strong for SmackDown to hold on that division, considering that the shakeup is going to be next week.
Yeah, and, you know, maybe we'll see some NXT blood in there. So, I mean, it'll be... Because, I mean, I think, I don't know, both tag team divisions kind of need a boost at the moment.
Well, I mean, considering what happened with the Raw one, which we will talk about, that amazingness that happened.
Oh, God.
All right, what was after that?
I think, was the mixed tag after that? Was that Ronda and Triple H?
Yeah, it was Ronda and Triple H after that.
Yeah, that was the mixed
Which,
tag.
Dark Horse match was arguably the second or third best match on that entire card.
I feel like second, and I feel like it's a mix of Ronda actually surprised a lot of people, and the card was just that bad.
Oh yeah, it was definitely the card was that bad, and like the matches before, except for like the tag team one, kind of was underwhelming, and we just lost the streak.
Yeah.
So like something bad happened, so we needed something really good and exciting. And watching Ronda Rousey literally beat the shit out of Stephanie McMahon was amazing. Her punching rapidly like Shane McMahon on Triple H was literally the best thing that it's ever happened.
And she might have the most over submission move in WWE right now, because when she grabs that arm, the
Oh
whole
my
crowd
God.
pops.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Like, this is how this was a good thing. Like, I don't know, if you put The Rock in that situation instead of Kurt Angle, I feel like Ronda would have gotten overshadowed,
Yeah.
and it would have been because this was her coming out party, and she exceeded exponentially.
Yeah, because Kurt really wasn't involved in too many big spots. It was a lot of Ronda in that match.
Which was the right thing. There was a couple of nice spots that Kurt had, and like putting the ankle lock on Stephanie, which was funny. Several moments of like the double pedigree spots, but overall it was fantastic.
Yeah, and at first I was surprised they didn't pull the trigger on the double submission finish, but I think it was smart to have Ronda have the ring to herself and make Stephanie tap instead of having, it looking like they're both getting submissions done. At least, Ronda's in the middle of the picture. She's got Stephanie to tap out. I think that was the better way to go with it.
Yeah, that was a better way, especially with what happened at Raw the following day, which we'll talk about afterwards. I do want to bring up one thing, and I think it was a really good homage that she did to Roddy Piper, coming out with the kilt and the the jacket and like her own shirt that's similar to Piper's shirt. It was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a really good homage. One moment I kind of want to just highlight really quickly. Whoever's doing the makeup for WWE needs to do something about when Ronda's sweating and her eye makeup just starts melting away. Because at that point, like, yeah, it looked serious, but it also looked like she was just crying hysterically before. So I don't know if that's something like, don't put eye makeup on there or do something different with the eye makeup.
Well, it always happened with Sting, where he'd have a full match, and by the end of it, black and white is just gone.
Well, that's
and you
different.
just see
Well,
rings of paint around his eyes.
Well, that's a little different. I feel like it's a little bit different, considering like he had a whole face paint. Ronda just came out with like regular makeup, just like with every other women's wrestler that's there. But like she was sweating so much that it just looked like she was just crying.
And for someone who has fought in pretty similar gear in the UFC, she was adjusting her gear a lot. Like, she didn't
Yeah, I
really
know.
seem comfortable.
She felt very uncomfortable in that gear. I don't know why. I think it was more that they needed to be looser. Yeah. I felt like the pants that she was wearing, they were just too tight, and she felt uncomfortable. Like, we all kind of just saw it. Like, man, how many times are you going to be adjusting yourself, Ronda? Like, come on.
Well, I feel like whenever she was in UFC, she was knocking people out in 15 seconds, so I don't think she ever had to adjust her gear.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Another thing, just want to point out before we move on, is whenever she took a bump, she would always land in the same position with her left leg up and her arms looking like they were waving like they just didn't care, which was just great because every time I saw it, like laughing pretty like minorly, but it was still pretty funny.
Well, we didn't get the wacky wave inflating Bailey buddies.
Yeah, I know.
So that was the closest one we got.
Of course. All right, let's move on to the next one, which was, crap. I'm trying to remember the matches now.
Was it Shane in a?
No, there was. I think it's the female. I think it was the female one. I think it was
it Nia and Alexa?
Yeah, it was Nia and Alexa. Can't stress this enough. They did the right thing.
Yeah.
They did the right thing.
It may not have been a squash, but Nia pretty much controlled a lot of that match.
Yeah, it should have been a squash, to be honest.
Yeah.
I felt like if it was more of a squash, we would have gotten more time with AJ and Nakamura.
There was a time where Jared and I looked at each other and go, wow, we didn't expect Alexa to get this much offense in. I kind of thought this match would already be over.
Yeah, I know. But the right person won.
100%.
And this, I think that out of all of like the manias that have been going, this might have been the quote-unquote wokiest one. And not to... Like, there was a lot of social things that they kind of addressed in this, like body shaming and, representation of the LGBTQ and stuff like that. So it was very good. And then, of course, Matt Woken Matt Hardy winning the Battle Royal.
Which is the most woken thing ever. But my biggest thing, and we even saw it on Raw, Mickey is still by Alexa's side. But A, Mickey has been getting destroyed by Nia, and B, Mickey was put through this same storyline like 5 years ago. So I don't understand how Mickey's all of a sudden okay with this. Like, do we have to play her video clips of the whole Biggie James thing, or is she just forgetting about that?
She might have just forgotten that because she worked really hard the way that she looks now. I think she popped out 2 kids with Nick Aldis, who was at the by the way, who was at the Hall of Fame sitting next to Mickey, which was pretty awesome. Which with
I was
all the commercials that we saw like going into like Mania, I think I know what he's going to be doing.
I didn't know Sting was going to be at the Hall of Fame ceremony either. Once Goldberg called him out in his speech, I didn't know. I didn't even know he was there.
I mean, to be fair, I was working when the Hall of Fame speech was, but I heard the Hall of Fame was pretty long.
The only thing I was able to catch, I was working too, and I was only able to catch the Goldberg speech.
I went on, I think, YouTube to just watch the Mark Henry one. That one was good.
Yeah, the pink jacket came back.
I'm so happy about the pink jacket, and then calling out like 3-4 different like guys. Like I could have beaten you. I could have been world champion.
Well, if the trend currently is general managers get hired only to return to the ring a little while later, then Sting should get the Raw general manager job because he can come back in like 2 years then.
We'll talk about that too as well because
it happened with Kurt Angle, it happened with Daniel Bryan, and then to be continued.
To be continued. Well, spoil.
To be continued.
Calm yourself. Then we had the Hall of Fame people come out after that match, which was all right. I'm surprised Hillbilly Jim looked that good.
Yeah, I was still surprised they didn't try and get Hulk Hogan to do that induction speech.
Yeah, I know. Especially with what just came out recently for the Andre the Giant documentary that came out.
I feel like Hogan's working his way back into good graces with WWE. I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time at this point. Let's see. I think there's 4 matches left.
Yeah, the 2 main ones, and then you've got the tag team match.
Okay, so the next one is Shane Daniel versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. The match was okay. There was a lot. It was more of a moment kind of match. Like, there was a lot of really good moments.
Well, I feel like Shane took most of the abuse, and then... Well, I mean, it makes sense, because it's Daniel Bryan's first match in 3 years, so you don't want him taking any like, crazy bumps.
Well, at first, the first spot of the whole match was that he got attacked.
Yeah.
And he got stretchered out for a second. I'm like, oh my god, tell me they didn't just rewoke in that injury. But it's like, there was no X, so it's like, okay, it's just a work. I got scared for a second.
Yeah, imagine after 3 years they just have him get jumped and he gets carted out and it ends up being a handicap match anyway. That would have like people would have been canceling the network right then and there.
Oh gosh, it would have been terrible. But he did come back out and he got the win. And now Kevin and Sammy are fired.
Yeah. And it seems like I mean, I do think they'll end up in Raw at some point. I mean, they're going to end up I think it would be awesome to see them just start running amok on NXT for a while and have Triple H be like, all right, someone's going to give these guys a job because they're a pain in my ass now.
Okay. We'll see what happens, though. The next match, which was AJ Nakamura.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know why this one went third, considering we still had the Braun Strowman and the Raw Tag Team match first, before that, and then the Roman Brock Lesnar one. I can understand Roman and Brock Lesnar. I can understand because they're...
I can understand it on paper, but the way that match played out, it should not have gone last.
No, it shouldn't have gone last. It left a bad taste in the mouth. It was just...
But I guess a Shinsuke heel turn shouldn't have gone on last either.
No, but that's why... No, I think that would have been... Because the match was, like, lackluster, but that heel turn was, like, the real good moment of that match.
I feel like there were a couple of matches at WrestleMania, this one included, that it feels like there's going to be more. It feels like WrestleMania is usually supposed to be the end of something. This felt like the start of something between AJ and Shinsuke. I mean, and this feud could go until SummerSlam.
Agreed, and definitely with what happened on SmackDown, which we'll talk about.
But yeah, I think they were. This seemed like the start. Like when you got Batman versus Superman, everyone kind of realized this was the start of something. Like it might not be that good because there's still more to come. I feel like that. Hopefully, I'm right, and they're just holding off.
Well, hopefully, you're also wrong because Batman v Superman was terrible.
Well, that's true too.
So, hopefully, this leads to something good.
Yeah.
Before I actually did forget, we had one more thing, and that was John Cena coming out to wait for the Undertaker.
Oh yeah.
And then we had. Hold on. Then we had Elias come out really quickly. John Cena completely destroying him. Then he walks up the ramp, and then we get a pretty decent entrance from the Undertaker. We had all the lights go out. That spot of like the old gear in the middle of the ring, lightning shooting at it. Then it goes back to dark, and then you had the really long Undertaker entrance. And then what preceded was a kind of a 5 to 7 minute squash match.
I mean, it was. This could have been done so much better. I feel like you could have done that thing with the gear on Raw one night and just not have him come out. Have that be like a message somehow. But I feel like we were all coming into this expecting American Badass.
Yeah, I think we were expecting American Badass. I feel like it should have been, I don't know, that moment, the lightning kind of destroying it, and then we have American Badass come out. Or like when the lights came back on, you just see Kid Rock in the corner having his band ready, and then he plays live American Badass.
Well, it was even worse because that match happened with Cena Undertaker, and then the Hall of Fame guys brought out after, and I go, really? Now we get Kid Rock? You couldn't have brought him out 5 minutes ago? And, I actually had an Undertaker entrance that, I think we spent all of this build just to get that Matt Taker.
Well, I think the reason why we got that is because this is clearly not over.
Yeah.
The next WrestleMania in New York, New Jersey, that's where it's going to really cap off. And I feel like...
I'm trying my damnedest to get tickets to that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think you, me, and CJ are going to try.
Oh, yeah. We are going to...
We are definitely going to do this.
We're going to be watching the internet like hawks waiting for that date of when tickets go on sale.
Yeah. Then we had probably, the funniest moment of the entire night. We had... the Bar going off against Braun Strowman and a mystery partner. Now, we all thought it was going to be like Samoa Joe or Bray Wyatt or Big Cass or something. But no, what Braun proceeds to do, and by far one of the best things that's ever happened in this entire thing, was Braun Strowman goes out into the crowd to pick out an opponent and gets a 10-year-old, 12-year-old boy, which, by the way, we all thought was a girl at first.
Yeah.
No offense to the kid.
Oh, no, I did too.
He was a boy, and his name was Nicholas.
Until he said the name Nicholas, until they put the mic up to him, I'm like, this could go either way.
This could go either way. This is going to be great.
You sure it's not Nicole?
And then everyone's chanting, Nicholas! Nicholas!
I mean, it was...
And then proceeded to be a kind of squash for the Bar, but there's a moment where Braun tags in Nicholas. Nicholas is in the ring. You see Cesaro kind of get up, and it's like, come on! And Nicholas is just scared for a second.
He's scared shitless. He's a 10-year-old kid just sitting in the room like, oh.
And then you just hear the crowd just chanting, Nicholas! 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 It was great. And then you have Braun Strowman single-handedly defeating the Bar, and both Braun Strowman and Nicholas, which is Wikipedia approved that Braun Strowman and Nicholas are official in winning the tag team belts.
It's like the level of when Judy Bagwell won the WCW tag team title.
Oh my
God!
God.
Days of WCW.
Oh God, it was such a great moment though.
But I just don't understand why it went second to last.
Yeah, I know.
You could have.
That should have been that match, and the Charlotte match could have switched.
Well, I understand that on paper you wouldn't want to have Charlotte, Asuka. If AJ Shinsuke was the match it was supposed to be, and then Brock Roman, the crowd would have been dead for Brock Roman if you put AJ and Shinsuke what it was supposed to be, and Charlotte and Asuka back to back. They would have just been dead. So I mean, maybe you put Nia squashing Alexa in that spot. You get the nice moment. The crowd kind of gets
simmers
its feet
down,
back, and then you get Roman versus Brock.
Which, oh my God, where do we even begin with this?
Yeah, this match made me, as I told you when I came into the studio, my reaction to WrestleMania kind of changed over the last few days. The first, 6 hours, I guess, of the show, it ended up being, was like, what? Not a lot of this makes a lot of sense. And then the main event happened, and confusion went into anger. And it's not even the fact that Roman Reigns didn't win. It was just the match we got.
Yeah, I mean, was it a bad match? I'm giving it 50-50 because a lot of it has to do with just the crowd. The smarkiest smart crowd was just not getting into Roman Reigns winning.
Plus, they had been in that stadium for 7 hours by that point.
Yeah, and they were done.
They were done.
There was no way that they were going to start cheering for Roman if he won, but he didn't win.
Yeah,
they gave it to Brock.
That was the confusion.
That was the confusing part, and it really got me mad.
I feel like most of the people in the arena, even if they didn't want it, were kind of resulting to the fact of Roman's winning. We're just gonna have, we'll react as we react, but we're kind of expecting at this point that Roman's gonna win, and that's what we all picked. We all thought it was the safest pick on the card.
But it turned out it wasn't. It turns out that Brock Lesnar bullying his way to get another contract somehow got him to keep the belt. And apparently this led to an altercation between him and Vince and Shane. I think it was more Vince, if anything. I think Shane was trying to break it up.
They said either Shane was breaking up or trying to back Vince up. But, I mean, it could have been a work. I don't know. It's just...
I feel like the the last time that this kind of happened between Brock and Randy at SummerSlam last year.
It was with Chris Jericho.
It was with Chris Jericho. I felt that was more of a work.
Well, I think that was legit.
Well, it was legit, but I felt like it was also a work.
Well,
this one I don't believe was a work. This one I actually do believe.
It was kind of the same situation with Brock and Randy, where they said a lot of people backstage didn't even know the finish.
Yeah, and there's just a big fight, and it resulted with Brock getting another contract, him holding on to the belt, and him not going to UFC. Now, a lot of this crowd stigma that we had for like hatred of Brock and Roman, I mean, obviously Roman is like his own separate thing, but the real hatred for Brock isn't so much that he was holding the belt and not showing up to Raw that much, is the fact that he was just going to go right to UFC again. This happened, WrestleMania 20, I think.
And his new deal, I think, only covers, 2 appearances? That's the rumor I've been hearing. It only covers 2 appearances. So if you count the steel cage match in Saudi Arabia, there's only 1 appearance left.
Yeah, and then that's probably going to be a rematch for the belt because I think in Saudi Arabia, Roman's probably going to win.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have a rematch probably at Backlash, and then that's going to be it for Brock Lesnar. And then after that, he gets a big contract. He gets a lot of money for it, and then he goes to UFC afterwards. And it's just
And Roman goes on to Samoa Joe, which I think was the plan all along, but they want to make this Saudi Arabia thing probably seem like a big deal. Was it a bad match? I don't know if I'd say bad. It was just more of the Brock Lesnar status quo.
Yeah, I know.
You can tell when Brock's going to win a match. It's just suplex. Why this match wasn't no holds barred is beyond me, because I'm pretty sure their first match at 31 was no DQ. So the only thing they could do...
went no DQ because then it turned into a triple threat.
Yeah. Well, so you throw... The only spot they could have done was Brock putting Roman through the table, and then
making Roman bleed. I mean, he bled.
Yeah.
Profusely, a lot. He was showing a lot of color.
It was the same spot with Orton where you have a match where the fans aren't really getting behind, and the story is, I don't know if it's true, but the story is Brock just says screw it and takes it into his own hands and just busts somebody open.
Yeah, and then that's what happened with and that's why they got into a fight between him and Vince.
Does this finally start to make Vince McMahon realize that Raw doesn't need Brock Lesnar to survive?
Yes. I feel like he's always known that. It's more just what else are we going to put in there? And I think the fact that we now get something incredibly good, which we'll talk about when we come back from break, but a lot of this has to do with the fact that we're still trying to do the Roman experiment, and I don't know what the cure for that really is at this point. Roman can put on good matches. I'm not gonna go into this whole rave about how bad and shitty Roman Reigns is, because that's not true anymore. He's good. I can tolerate Roman Reigns. I just don't like him.
And the promos he was cutting on Monday night on Raw leading up to this match were all solid. You could tell he's coming from a position of his own feelings.
Yeah, he's coming into a full character. We still don't really know what that character is, but at least he's getting somewhere. It's just there's something missing, and they're not exploring it, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Vince pegged him to be the guy, and he's just not that.
And I think the whole problem is they're trying to make him into a new Stone Cold Steve Austin. They're trying to plant the seeds for an anti-authority character. And the fans just aren't buying. Because you saw the promo he cut on Raw after Mania. But, he's even cut this type of promo before where it's Brock always gets what he wants. I'm the guy that's always here busting my ass. And Vince McMahon still doesn't respect that. And he's been saying this whole narrative for a couple months now, but the fans all know it's not true.
That's obviously it's not true. You're in a crowd that's really smarky. What you have to do is bring it to a crowd that's not like that, like Saudi Arabia.
Right. We don't know what Saudi Arabia is. We've never seen a live event there. We've never actually watched an event.
This is going to be the first one ever, and we're actually all generally, I would say, excited and interested.
It's just going to be weird that it's on at 12 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon.
It is on a Thursday. That's really what it is.
I think it is this Thursday or next Thursday.
Damn, I'm gonna miss that.
Yeah, I'll end up watching it on the network later on. But I just think they're trying to make a character. I think it's easy to know what's going to work with Roman. Just have him walk in, beat the shit out of whoever he's facing off with, just like he did with Triple H at TLC a few years ago, where he just absolutely laid into him. And the fans loved that. And then the match with Sheamus the next night on Raw for the title, they loved that. So there's a part of Roman that works, but I think they're trying to expand it, and the fans just aren't buying it.
Yeah, that's at the end of the day, that's what it is. But I think at its entire thing, WrestleMania wasn't bad, but it could have been a lot better.
I think disappointing is the word I came out of it.
I agree with you. I think since 32, because that was the last time. Well, 31. 31 was like I think the last time there was a good match, because that was the Mania Seth Rollins won the championship.
Yeah.
But ever since then, there's just been bad main events. There was the Triple H one, which I think wasn't terrible.
The Triple H one was given no shot by the fans.
No, it wasn't. But generally, if you look back at it, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it really wasn't that bad. And
then you had the Undertaker one, which was bad.
Yeah, that was a matchup that Undertaker shouldn't have had.
Yeah.
Not in the physical condition he was, and Roman's he's a bruiser. You can't, unless it's a guy like John Cena, who, like, he's older, but he can still take that style. Undertaker can't be taking those big hits anymore.
And then you had this one, which, I can't even fathom the words. It was just disappointing.
It was the Lesnar status quo. We've seen this from Lesnar before. He bullies his way. I think within a week of the pay-per-view, he probably backstage politicked his way into winning that match.
Probably. I think so. Anyway, we're going to go to a commercial, and then we're going to talk about the aftermath. We're back. All right, so let's talk about the aftermath. Let's talk about the Raw after Mania and the SmackDown after Mania and the NXT after TakeOver. Where do you want to start?
I guess we'll start, since we've already given what we thought of WrestleMania. Might as well jump to Raw the next night.
Okay, so this Raw was arguably one of the best Raws that we've had in quite a long time.
It was a lot better than the Mania the night before.
Oh my God. Where do we start? We start, I think, with this tag team. I think that we start with Braun Strowman, I guess.
Either that, or we can just start in the beginning, because that opening segment with Ronda and Stephanie
go ahead.
Was fire.
Oh, go ahead.
That was, everyone's like, Ronda was like, oh, everything's fine, and we're all just like, wait a minute. So after all of that at Mania, they're just gonna shake hands, everything will be good.
Then they shook hands, and then you get the look. You get the famous Ronda look, which is the hulked out moment.
When that smile just goes down, it's like, that's it. You might as well go home now. Like, it's over.
And then just breaking Stephanie's arm, and Stephanie's gonna be gone for a while.
Yeah, I think they're gonna write. This is their way of, like, kind of writing the Authority off TV for a little while. Because I think either Kurt had to go back to an active role and be out as GM, or the Authority kind of had to fade in the background. I think that's the way they're gonna go with this.
All right, and it was great. I thought it was great. Great. It was a great starting point, and hopefully that means we get to see more Ronda, hopefully on a weekly basis.
Yeah, she's definitely over now. I just don't know. It'll be interesting to see what she does next, because they're not going to have her go against Nia, obviously.
No, what they're probably going to do is give her, I don't know, feed her to Dana or something. I don't know. We'll have to wait until the shakeup. I'll have to wait and see what happens with that first.
Right, because we saw what happened with Asuka when she first got to Raw. They just fed her Dana Brooke at a random pay-per-view.
One story that they could go with, and this is what happened WrestleMania weekend. I don't know if you were paying attention to this, but apparently a certain WWE superstar got into beef with Ronda's husband. That superstar was Alicia Fox.
No, Alicia Fox.
And I have my own opinions about Ronda's husband. I kind of don't like him.
Well, he's also a UFC fighter.
He's also a UFC fighter, and he's kind of I don't know. I don't like him that much.
Yeah.
So if this was real beef or anything like that, I kind of think that Alicia was probably more in the right. But if this is just a work, it's going to be such a good match to see Ronda versus Alicia Fox. Just watching Ronda just take Alicia by a ragdoll. And Alicia is in a better spot because she's actually a better wrestler than she was, 10 years ago.
Yeah, and she really hasn't been featured on TV a whole lot. Was she in the Women's Battle Royal?
No, she wasn't, because of that altercation with Ronda's husband.
Right.
But she was injured for a while, and she was planning to be in that that battle royal, but then got into beef. So hopefully that means we're leading to that.
Anything is better than Alicia Fox and Noam Dar. Anything's better than that.
All right. But then let's lead right into the tag team. We have Braun Strowman and Nicholas making probably one of the saddest things that happened on Raw, and we'll talk about the other sad thing in a second.
But they did it in a funny segment.
Yeah, they did it in a funny segment where they relinquished the tag team belts.
Because Nicholas is still in the 4th grade. Like, Nicholas is still in the 4th grade. Oh. He can't travel around the country with you. He can't go to Saudi Arabia with you on a Thursday.
It was, oh, God. And then it's like, once I'm done with the 4th grade, I'm coming back for the belts. Braun!
I'm wondering if he had to go to school that day.
Oh, God. He probably came back and, like, he was probably the coolest kid.
Imagine that note. Isn't he, like, was it Jim Cone or whatever?
Yeah, Jim Cone. Yeah, Jim Cone's his dad.
He's just calling up, like, yeah, my son can't come into school today. He's got to relinquish the Raw Tag Team titles tonight. He's kind of got a busy schedule. We're in New Orleans, so, yeah. He can't. Don't worry, we have a doctor's note signed by Vince McMahon himself.
But don't worry. Kurt Angle had a plan this entire time for the tag team belts with a tag team tournament.
Yeah, a mini tournament.
And let's see, we have the Revival going over the club, which kind of just shows an indication that they're going to go to SmackDown.
I think so.
Because,
if Finn goes to SmackDown, they might go with him.
Yeah, and then we have an interesting team. Well, we have Titus Worldwide going off against an interesting team of a newly found Hardy Boys, or I don't know what the fuck they're being called.
Woken Warriors.
The Woken Warriors. Woken Warriors of Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, which, by the way, great tag team.
Yeah.
This was something you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when Sheamus and Cesaro first became a tag team, and they had such great chemistry for that.
Right, yeah, and they had to beat the crap out of each other for months before they finally realized.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And we kind of just overlooked this entire thing because, we never think 3 steps ahead into a completely different light.
But you'd think, Bray Wyatt gets thrown to the Lake of Reincarnation, doesn't even change his shirt. He just comes out in his normal clothes like, yeah, just Sister Abigail's going, don't worry about it.
Or is she? Because I have a theory that she might be purged from Bray Wyatt, but that doesn't mean that she's gone.
She's gonna take over Matt Hardy.
Oh God!
Like, oh my God! Now he's Sister Abigail.
Oh my God! I could totally watch a YouTube series of him trying to fight over control of his own body against Sister Abigail. That'd be funny.
Just have a mixed tag team match of him and Rebby Sky against Bray Wyatt and Sister Abigail.
And somehow it'd be someone in the shape of like Bray Wyatt in drag. It'd be so funny. Oh God, but I think the Revival and Matt and Bray are going to be facing off against each other during the Superstar Shakeup to get the spot to face the Bar. I think.
Yeah, it's
Saudi Arabia.
I think they were trying to find a way because I don't think the Bar are going to win no matter who they face.
That's true. I think that too, but I also think that has something that I still believe that this whole Sheamus injury thing is still something, and considering what happens, I guess, what we're going to talk about next, it could be something that Sheamus will have to address at some point.
Well, I think this is kind of their way, probably kind of giving them a bye into Saudi Arabia. Maybe they hope he'll heal up enough in time to do that match, and then they'll, and if they lose that match, then they'll say at that point, okay, let's go in and see what's going on and go from there.
Yeah. But then the whole reason why we said that whole part was probably one of the saddest things that's ever happened in wrestling for quite a long time was Paige announcing her actual retirement from the in-ring competitor.
Yeah, it caught me by surprise.
Oh, absolutely. I wasn't expecting it. She came into the middle of the ring after a match with Absolution and
I think it was Sasha.
Thanks, Sasha, or something like that.
Yeah, because Sasha and Bayley had the implosion, but then you just saw Paige kind of still lingering in the ring. We really had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, like what was going on, and then she started crying and talking about how an amazing opportunity this all was. And then I got to find something else like Edge and Daniel, and hopefully, maybe one day I'll come back.
Yeah. So now the history of a general manager trying to come back, maybe a couple years down the line, might be
going a little too fast, Joe. Going a little too fast.
But yeah, so it's good. She's still under contract, so they had to use her somehow.
Yeah. So they did, and I think that's what they were trying to do. I think when the injury happened, they didn't really know what was going on. They was like, let's just finish off WrestleMania. Get that out of the way, and then we'll do an official retirement thing for you on Raw.
I could see Absolution going to SmackDown and kind of having that dynamic play out. Like, oh, you were like, are you still going to help us out? And then,
Well, you're going ahead. I know you want to talk about it, but hold on. We got to finish off Raw. The next big thing that happened, and I'm so happy that this happened. Well, actually, before this actually happened, is one quick little thing with No Way Jose making his debut, which was cool. I think that he fits on Raw a lot better, kind of like an Elias kind of vibe. But a more happier version.
Yeah, and I feel
like Coco Beware kind of.
At least Raw has more screen time every week for him to try. I mean, I'm just hoping he's not Adam Rose 2.0.
Oh, God, I don't want that happening. I liked Adam Rose, and I kind of liked his new gimmick that he was trying out before he got released. Yeah. So, God, I hope that doesn't happen to No Way.
I mean, I feel like he's a talented enough competitor in the ring. But at some point, these squashes are going to get old and you have to find someone.
Yeah. Then we get to the thing that I was originally going to talk about before No Way Jose, which was a segment that Elias had, and he was bad-mouthing New Orleans, just like he does in every town. And then, out of nowhere, you get a new theme song from the one and only Bobby Lashley.
This was a return I was pushing for. I wanted to happen before Mania. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but it was just...
This might lead to Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns at some point at, SummerSlam or something.
At one point, I was thinking Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, but I don't think Brock's going to stick around long enough for it.
No, that's not going to happen. But, man, I so missed Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, he's gotten so much better through his time in Japan and in Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, and even in MMA at Bellator as well. So he's probably more legitimate and actually loves wrestling better than Brock Lesnar. So he's, in fact, a better Brock Lesnar than Brock Lesnar.
I mean, it was just... Because I remember I was a huge fan of him when he first got called up back in 2006. And, I loved the physique. He was just throwing people around. He just couldn't talk worth of anything. But now,
But now he can actually talk, and now he has a personality, and now... Damn, he's still got it, and I'm so excited about it.
He's a guy that, similar to a Drew McIntyre type, and hopefully he'll be back from his injury very soon, where his second run in WWE might end up being his best.
Oh, God, I can't wait. It's going to be so good. Then we get probably the best return out of all of them with the return of Samoa Joe.
Oh, that promo he cut against Roman Reigns was...
It was, like, he can go right into the main event spot against Lesnar, but that's not going to happen, obviously.
I feel like he was a guy that really could have benefited from a good performance against Lesnar, because Lesnar went through that run of just, let me find a big guy on Raw and just bury the hell out of him.
Yeah, and I think Samoa Joe wouldn't take that shit either. Like, I remember, what was it? I think when Kurt Angle debuted in Impact, and he got a bloody forehead, and he's like, I'm not going to take that shit. I'm very angry about this. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. So, like, and they also have great chemistry between Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns. Like,
yeah, their styles would work together very well.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. I'm so glad to see Joe.
He can really work either a heel or like an anti-hero role, honestly. He really can go both ways.
Yeah, so I don't know where this is going to lead exactly, but it's definitely going to lead to, at some point, a match against Roman. Maybe at Money in the Bank or something like that.
Wait, because Joe was talking about how he'll be waiting at Backlash, but I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know how long Lesnar's contract is really going to be, so we'll see what happens.
Because I can see Brock being like, I'm too big for Backlash. I'll do one random Raw, and then I'll do Saudi Arabia, and I'm done.
Well, the contract for Brock, though, isn't 100% out there, is it?
I don't think so. I'm looking at it now. But I can also... Could you really see Brock Lesnar being the guy that puts Roman over twice?
I mean, if he's got the money already, maybe.
I mean, if he plans on going back to UFC anyway, I don't know.
I mean, we'll see what happens.
I mean, I could see... I mean, Roman's not this type of guy. He's the kind of guy who loves the business and respects it. But, I could see Roman just taking a shot at Brock. Especially if that busting open spot at WrestleMania wasn't supposed to happen. Roman's probably legitimately pissed right now at Brock.
Yeah, and if it happens at Saudi Arabia, that's going to be really intense.
Especially in a cage where you could easily have a chance where both guys end up bleeding by the end of the match.
Or get really hurt.
Yeah.
So, this could lead to something. This could.
Here, Wrestling Observer Newsletter reports that it is not listed as a one-match deal, but it does end before SummerSlam.
Okay, so it's possible that he could come back, doesn't matter, anytime between now and SummerSlam.
Yeah, like maybe you could have, like, Roman takes the title off him in Saudi Arabia, faces Joe at Backlash, and maybe at SummerSlam Brock gets his last shot, so whoever beats him, and then
Yeah, and then
he's
he
gone.
goes off into the sunset, and then he gets to be in UFC, which, to be honest, I kind of miss him in UFC. I kind of like Brock in UFC.
Yeah, but part of me wants to see him lose in UFC. I don't know. I'm just.
We'll definitely have a show talking exclusively about wrestlers in UFC. I feel like you and me would have a good conversation.
I feel like Brock has just alienated a lot of people on the WWE side of things now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, when he first came back, people were really hyped about it.
Oh, yeah, I was so excited. I remember we came back after Cena was, calling out The Rock, and then his music hit. I was so pumped.
But, now I think everyone's kind of tired of his shtick. And, you have guys on Raw. You have Roman. You have Strowman.
And Joe.
Assuming if Dean Ambrose comes back and goes to Raw, they can carry that upper to main event scene, so you really don't need Brock anymore.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, that's going to be it for Raw. Let's talk about SmackDown, because I don't want to keep talking about Brock Lesnar. On SmackDown, it wasn't as eventful, but several things did happen that were quite nice. I do say so myself. Well, first, Shane McMahon at the beginning of the show announces Daniel Bryan will no longer be GM. He'll return to active duty, and maybe he'll stick around on SmackDown. We don't really know.
Yeah.
The shakeup is going to be a 2-day event, apparently, Monday and Tuesday.
Which is why I think they might have held off on some of the returns and debuts on
Yeah,
SmackDown.
I agree with that. But they needed something for the SmackDown and Raw after. But one return that was a pleasant surprise after the news that broke the night before, Paige is now the new GM of SmackDown, which has now perpetuated this whole idea that somehow becoming SmackDown general manager will eventually lead you back into the ring.
Yeah, I mean, it's general, because now Kurt Angle is the only Raw GM, and he got put back in the ring, too. So, Mick Foley didn't get put back in the ring. So that one's 50-50.
been gone for a long time, though.
Yeah.
So, I think this is an interesting one, because we haven't seen a woman, be a GM for quite a long time. Yeah, we had Stephanie.
I think AJ Lee might have been the last one I could think of as
AJ Lee
GM.
at SmackDown, and Vicky at SmackDown. But I think Paige. I think this is a good fit for Paige, though.
Yeah, she can clearly work with a mic, and I don't think you can just have her being the mouthpiece for Absolution forever. Eventually, Sonya and Mandy are probably going to be given a chance to break off on their own, whether it's on Raw or they get moved to SmackDown. So I agree with it. Like I said before, she's under contract. You got to use her somehow, and I think it's a role she'll do pretty well with.
I agree. The next big thing that happens is what is it? Charlotte had a promo, and it was a pretty decent one explaining about Asuka. And then we have the interruption of the iconic duo of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, which was amazing. And they just completely destroy Charlotte. Completely destroy her.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as that was over, literally seconds before, or seconds after, you had, what's her name? Carmella. Sorry, I completely forgot and botched her name for a second. Carmella
She held that
grabbing
for 287 days, so no one even remembers she had it anymore.
So she comes down grabbing Mike Chioda by the referee shirt to cash in the Money in the Bank. And, okay, let me just talk about this spot for a second, because I really didn't like this. Why the fuck was Mike Chioda confused about what Carmella was doing? He was so confused, what? Why are you giving me this? What are you doing?
Is this a gift? I don't think I bought it as an legit cash. I thought Charlotte was going to reverse it until Carmella hits the kick.
Yeah.
Because I could have easily seen Carmella coming out thinking, "Oh yeah, this is it," and then Charlotte just gets up a berry and that's it.
But the way that she was down for a little bit, but she was slowly kind of getting up and looking rusty, trying to, well, not rusty, but a little delirious and stuff like that, and made it look a little bit more real that her beatdown that she just got was, workable. And then Carmella became the new SmackDown Women's Champion, which was all right, now we know why Charlotte won.
Yeah, we could not have Asuka lose the streak on a cash-in. I don't think that would have gone very well.
No, it wouldn't have gone well at all. But I'm glad that Carmella's the champ now.
Yeah.
We finally have that briefcase out of the way until, in June when we do another one.
Yeah, I feel like that whole Money in the Bank, I feel like they need to do it better this time around, because the whole James Ellsworth thing really put a stigma around that briefcase.
Yes. Well, also the fact that it was only a SmackDown-only thing, that also put a lot of stigma to it, because it's well, if I can't do it on this particular champion, why can't I do it on the other one? It was only
now
SmackDown.
back to dual-branded pay-per-views, though. I think the Money in the Bank...
Well, some of them, not all of them.
I think it's most of them.
No, well, Backlash, Money in the Bank, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania.
Yeah, so but Money in the Bank is dual-branded now, so at least we have that window of both the men's and women's winners. Because it was we got the men's winner I don't even remember who the men's winner was.
It was Baron Corbin. He cashed in and failed.
And lost because of John Cena.
Yeah.
Right, and now I remember that. But yeah, so I think they need to do the women's briefcase better this time around because Carmella looked like absolute trash. Every time she tried to cash in, she would get chased off.
Yeah, I know. But this time, I'm glad that it got over. I'm glad that it's done. That we don't have to worry about it again. But now it kind of leads to where's Charlotte going after this? Because I have a feeling that she's gonna go to Raw during the shakeup.
I think now though we see that post-Mania crowds are a great thing for Money in the Bank cash-ins because it happened with Ziggler.
Oh yeah, I know. That's the first thing in our group chat. I think that's what I said. Is she had the Ziggler moment.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Charlotte. I could see her going to Raw. I think Charlotte versus Nia would be a really solid feud.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Charlotte versus Alexa because they had that one match last year at Survivor Series, but it could be a really good feud. Assuming we don't know where Alexa's gonna go either, but I think Charlotte really she has options, but it's just gonna be interesting to see if she does stay on SmackDown and go after Carmella.
Right.
How long is Carmella gonna hold that title?
And then the last thing was something that was announced at the beginning of SmackDown, but then happened at the end, was Paige announced a match between the returning Daniel Bryan, his first singles match in a very long time against AJ Styles. And the match was pretty solid up until a certain wrestler interrupted and ruined that match.
Yep, and now heel Shinsuke Nakamura.
Which I'm totally excited about.
Yeah, no, he might be better off as a heel. I mean, I think he was still over enough where if he had beaten AJ at Mania, he would have been fine, but still, I mean, that's heel Shinsuke is going to be fine.
I mean, me and CJ talked about this before. For the match at Mania, one of them was going to be heel, and I thought it was going to be AJ. He thought it was going to be Nakamura. I'm like, not right now. Not until, after he becomes champ or something like that. Yeah. Or, there has to be a reason behind it. At least with this one, there was a little bit of history, and they were really banging on this whole history, before WWE between AJ and Nakamura. That's why the build was so terrible.
Yeah, well, that's why it was really a first. Because I feel like Vince McMahon never admits that anything happens outside of WWE.
Well, I mean, besides... Oh, forgot the one thing that happened on Raw, because this completely happened, was the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They showed up on Raw asking for a job, and then they got put into a match. And while that thing was going on, right before that match got called, Kurt Angle, being Kurt Angle, throws shade at TNA, saying, I think TNA has some openings. We were all laughing.
That was really fun. Oh, yeah, but... I mean, it'll be interesting to see where they go with that moving forward. Because I feel like I could see it happening where, more people leave Raw for the shakeup than they get in. And you can see Sami and Kevin go, oh, well, now there's an extra spot open, so now... Or something, I don't know.
I don't know, there's a lot of avenues. Like you said before, they could go to NXT.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
But there's some interesting things going online. Kevin Owens just liked a wrestling promotion in the UK called Progress. Or started following them. So, it's pretty interesting.
Well, of course, there could be some interesting roster moves now. I mean, we still have to talk about the big story of the day, but...
Oh, God.
Yeah, that one.
Well...
But, I mean, but yeah.
Well, let's talk about NXT and 205 first, before we get into what we can expect going forward.
Also, I just want to say I would love to see, with Paige as GM, just have her and Xavier Woods in a room
Yeah,
together,
I know. That's...
oh,
I'm waiting for that moment so bad.
Just have them both, look down, you'll have the New Day, yeah, we need a SmackDown Tag Team title match. All right, you got it. And Big E and Kofi leave the room. You see Paige and Xavier,
Well, you have Xavier just, going, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Paige. All right, I'll see you later. No, I won't see you later. No.
Oh, God. All right. Let's talk about NXT really quickly. The one big thing that happened, technically the post-NXT, or technically this always happens, the recording before the takeovers, that's how it usually works, is that we finally get the debut of War Machine, or now that they're being called War Raiders.
Yeah, which I'm not a big fan of, but...
Big fan of the name or big fan of the tag team?
Big fan of the name.
I agree, but, I had the same thing with Bludgeon Brothers, so at least with one...
They kept Ricochet.
They did keep Ricochet, and they kept Adam Cole, and they kept Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, and they kept Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne, so... I mean, it's interesting. I kind of want to see where it leads, because now there's another big tag team in NXT now.
Yeah, because Heavy Machinery really hasn't gotten off the ground, I don't think, the way anyone expected.
I mean, it's not that they're bad.
Yeah.
But I think they needed more time.
They might be a little bit one-dimensional. I would love to see now. Well, another thing we didn't talk about on Raw was the debut of the Authors of Pain.
Oh God, I can't believe I totally forgot about that. Thank you so much.
So you lose them now. I wonder what happens to Paul Ellering.
Well, I mean,
does he go back to NXT and choose a new tag team to kind of?
Well,
Because Heavy Machinery could be that team.
That's true, but let's
or War Raiders
but let's go back to the AOP debut because I completely forgot about that. First, you had Heath Slater and Rhino come out saying we're gonna be part of the tag teams because we were the first SmackDown tag team champions, baby, and I got kids I gotta feed, so let's bring it on. Who's next? And then you get Authors of Pain, and everyone's screaming off the top of their lungs, AOP. I know I was when I was watching it live. It was exciting. And then at the end of the match, you had AOP just leave Paul Ellering at the end of the ramp. They're just ditching him. What appears to be like that. It's possible that he's still the manager, but now they're being more cocky about it, and it won't be until like they actually lose they'll be in that spot.
I think the problem with Paul Ellering is the good thing about NXT is a lot of the tapings happen in the same place. I don't know if Paul Ellering really can handle that full-time road schedule anymore.
That's true. I mean, we could try. We'll see what happens. But if he does, let's say, get what's the word I'm looking for? If AOP do leave him in the dust, let's say, and he goes back to NXT, would War Raiders or Heavy Machinery be a better tag team, or would we possibly see like him like taking, I don't know, something like what I would hope, but it would never be a good idea, which would be taking back the Ascension and seeing what we could do about that.
I feel like anything that's done with the Ascension is a positive at this point, but I think if you put him with another young up-and-coming team, because I could see it happening where he takes like a Heavy Machinery or War Raiders and builds them up, and then at some point down the line on the main roster, he brings them back to bring them up to challenge Authors of Pain. I think that would be a phenomenal payoff. Instead of like go like a full year, but keep in people's minds that Paul Ellering got ditched by AOP, and just have him get one of those big tag teams and say, you know what, I'm going to make you guys regret leaving me, and then boom, they go after AOP.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. I would have loved that. Like if they somehow, like by next Mania, they get like the tag team belts, which should happen.
Yeah.
Then you have Paul Ellering come out, and then you have like War Raiders or Heavy Machinery or one of those teams come out and just absolutely destroy them.
That would be a great moment.
Yeah. And then with 205 Live, I don't really remember if anything's important to happen with 205 Live.
I mean, I think the brand's in good hands right now with Cedric being champion. And the only other thing is like, well, hold on. Someone challenged him, though. That's Mustafa Ali. Never mind.
There's more Mustafa Ali. I mean...
Oh, yeah. It's interesting, the tag team they're going with right now with Hideo Itami and Akira Tozawa. I really don't know, because Itami's kind of being, like, the dickish heel, but, like, Tozawa's still a face. And I feel like Tozawa's also a lot of momentum since he...
I mean, that's kind of like a similar to Cesaro and Sheamus, though. Like, Cesaro was clearly the babyface in that, and Sheamus was the heel, and it wasn't until, like, they kind of got together to win the gold, and then... I mean, it's interesting that they're starting to do a tag team division for the cruiserweights, even though they've had a, being treated like the worst undercard. They're being treated just like the women's division was back in 2015.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that they have their own show really is helping out. I would love if you're going to bring the Cruiserweight Tag Team titles in. I know they have that incredible match, but DIY reuniting for the Cruiserweight Tag Team titles would be...
It would be good. Like,
because I can't think of any tag teams that could be... Unless you put the Lucha Dragons back together.
Nah, they could put the Lucha Dragons together. You could put... I mean, you could technically get, like, I don't know, what's that team that I was thinking of? You could get, like, TM61. I don't know if they're technically 205 and under, but that could be one team that they could go with.
Have a Rey Mysterio come and grab a random partner and just, I don't know. It's just, but there's an interesting team. I feel like Tozawa Itami feud does kind of cop out.
Yeah.
Because, they're both obviously very similar.
Or you have Grand Metalik and Lindsay Dorado.
Yeah, just grab two masked luchadors and put them together.
Obviously, because that's what luchadors do, is just put them together.
All luchadors are the same. Just ask Vince McMahon.
Of course.
Rey Mysterio got over. That means Sin Cara should be over. It's the same thing.
Oh, of course. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to talk about what to expect moving forward. we're back. All right, so let's talk about what we're expecting moving forward. Well, the first big thing that's going on is obviously the Superstar shakeup.
Yeah.
CJ did send us a list of stars he would like to see or is possibly moving over to
According
Raw
to CJ, like 60% of the roster is getting switched around.
So for Raw is going to be getting Randy Orton, The New Day, Natalya, Benjamin and Gable, Mojo Rawley, Bobby Roode, Riot Squad, Dolph Ziggler, Charlotte, while SmackDown gets Braun Strowman, The Revival, The Club, Absolution, The Miz Taraj, Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, Asuka, and Jeff Hardy. Oh yeah, we also got the return of Jeff Hardy on Raw.
Yeah,
totally, we were forgetting so much. There was just so much shit that happened.
Well, let's put it to you this way: there's no way that the Revival is going to SmackDown because maybe unless they lose to Woken Matt next, and
But they're
Bryan
only
next week.
getting 2. I don't know.
I don't
I have a hard time believing the Revival. Maybe the Club I can get behind. I can understand that.
Well, I'm of
I
the
have a hard
belief that
time.
Finn Balor is going to SmackDown, so if the Club goes with him, but I don't see SmackDown losing both the New Day and Benjamin and Gable because that's two of their real mid-range teams right there.
I do agree that the New Day is going to Raw.
I think one of them will go to Raw. I don't think it's gonna be both.
Maybe both. I can get behind Shelton Benjamin and Gable going because they can have a story with Jason Jordan when he comes back. Or if they stay, Jason Jordan gets traded over to SmackDown.
Yeah, we're forgetting a lot. Yeah, Jason Jordan.
But then, but it'd be so much better if you have it on Raw because then you have Kurt Angle mixed into that with his son, with that whole stupid son storyline. But there's just so many avenues that they could go down.
Well, I mean, I feel like Raw, the way you could go is you put Benjamin and Gable on Raw, Gable turns on Benjamin, and Benjamin turns face, and when Jason Jordan comes back, he says, I only said I was Kurt Angle's son to get, like, attention or perks, and he and Gable become a heel American Alpha.
Oh, that'd be so good. I would love that. I actually do believe Asuka might go to SmackDown and Charlotte could go to Raw.
Yeah, part of me feels like Asuka's kind of already on SmackDown.
Yeah, I know.
She just didn't appear on any show this week after Mania, so we really didn't know.
I mean, we'll find out by the Superstar shakeup, if anything. Let's see. And the only other thing that's kind of more immediate than that is what's going on in Saudi Arabia, the greatest Royal Rumble. First off, what do you think of the name?
You're basing this all around one match. That 50-man just cluster. It would be hysterical if they actually did 50 men in one ring and just tried to figure that out. But I don't know. I think
seven titles are going to be on the line. Both tag teams, both, I guess, world champions, even though one's called the Universal Championship. And then the U.S. and Intercontinental Championship also going to be on the line.
Well, because I feel like when you hear the show called The Greatest Royal Rumble, you think it's just about the Rumble. You don't think any of those other big matches are going to be happening.
Oh, no, that's true. But it's going to be a 50-man Rumble. I mean, we tried doing that in the U.S. with 40, and that was even long and obnoxious. But
well, you're talking at least an hour and a half combined just on entrances. And then you're probably looking at that thing could take easily 2+ hours to finish.
True. And there's no women on this card, by the way. I just want to make that perfectly clear. There's going to be no women on this card. I think it's because
I think it's because of the customs there.
Yeah, I think it's because of the customs. Well, the last time they did a Middle Eastern tour, I think Sasha and Alexa were the only two that were women on the card, and they were in like these bodysuits.
Yeah,
because they couldn't show women in skin.
Yeah, that was Abu Dhabi. So, I think it was just I think it's more. It might be more strict over there.
Yeah, but there's that. But there's also supposed to be a specialty match between The Undertaker and Rusev in a casket match.
That was the plan.
Well, yeah, except that got scrapped literally 2 days later. And Chris Jericho will now be facing The Undertaker in a casket match.
Chris Jericho has already been announced for the Royal Rumble match, so he's going to pull double duty then.
I mean, that's good for Saudi Arabia because then they get 2 things of Rusev and 2 things of Jericho, and who can't take more of Jericho?
And
but
I think Chris Jericho might actually be able to make a casket match with The Undertaker decent.
I mean, so could have Rusev, but that kind of brings us with this whole question of what's going on with Rusev.
Yeah, we thought that. Well, personally, I thought they were going to put the U.S. title on him to make him not leave.
Yes, because Rusev Day is over.
Right.
it was selling out merch. Literally gonna buy a shirt if he won. I made that promise on this podcast. I made it to CJ that I was gonna buy a Rusev Day shirt if he won. And he didn't win. And I got really upset. Now, he was supposed to be at a casket match with The Undertaker. And I was like, okay, that's not too bad. That's gonna be a fun match to watch. But then it gets pulled with Chris Jericho, and now we have a possibility of Rusev not being in WWE anymore. What the fuck?
Well, not only did he not win at WrestleMania, he ate the pin. That's even worse. Yeah, if Ruder Orton ate the pin and he just didn't win, that's one thing. But he took the pin off the Colossus.
Like, why are they doing this to Rusev? Rusev is over. He's over. People love him.
They're doing a lot of this with what they were doing with Zack Ryder.
Yeah, I know, but Zack took it though, and that was a real bad thing for Zack to do. Zack should have thought about himself. Would have been like, no, I'm not gonna take this. Like, give me my release. I'll go somewhere else and do it. And he probably would have been over in some independent thing here in Long Island or New York or Jersey or something like that.
Well, because Zack is so dedicated to the company, he's still there. And they had the stop and start thing with the U.S. title. Then there was when he won the Intercontinental title 2 years ago, and everyone freaked out. But then he lost it the next night on Raw.
And he never got anything after. He never won any tag team belts with Raleigh when they were a tag team. They never finished the storyline with Raleigh and Zack Ryder because I think they got injured at some points and then never addressed that again.
Yeah, now then Mojo kind of was just thrown into the whole Andre thing. So
and
Ryder didn't even get on the card for WrestleMania.
Yeah, he wasn't even in the Battle Royal. Like, what the fuck?
So I don't understand. I mean, this is the most recent tweet from Rusev. This was 20 hours ago. Life is life. It will be Rusev Day somewhere. So is this the end of Rusev in WWE, or is it the end of the Rusev Day gimmick?
I mean, if it's the end of the Rusev Day gimmick, that's dumb on multiple business and marketing fronts. There's money to be made in Rusev Day. Why the fuck would they be doing that? It makes no sense.
And then when 2 days ago, the casket match was announced, he tweeted out, "Bury me softly, brother." And I don't know if that may have gotten him into some hot water with Vince McMahon. Obviously, Vince was pissed at him, 2 years ago? No, 3 years ago probably now, where he was trying to do the Dolph Ziggler and Lana storyline. But then
if that's really how this really boiled down for 3 years ago, from probably the worst storyline in WWE history ever, Vince has major problems.
Well, that's true, for sure.
Like, oh my god. If that's how somehow this has all been related to that, I'm not gonna lie. I am gonna be so fucking mad.
Vince McMahon holds some weird grudges.
Like, this wasn't like, to be fair, that whole storyline was stupid to begin with.
Oh yeah. Face Lana just wasn't gonna work.
Face Lana, I mean, it almost did, but then
trying to shoehorn Summer Rae in there was kind of
shoehorning Summer Rae was really dumb. And then you had afterwards just this weird slut shaming of Lana from literally everybody, from like
including The Rock,
including Roman Reigns. It was just like, why? There's no reason to do that. Like, okay, we get it. They Instagrammed a shot of Rusev proposing to Lana. Get over it.
We're in 2018. Kayfabe's dead. It's been dead for a long time.
Well, unless you're Matt Hardy.
Or The Undertaker.
But, like, holding that kind of grudge is dumb. If this is how that whole thing got started and it's about to end from that, there's a huge problem.
Well, plus, also, Rusev got rid of all his bio on Twitter. And his tag is still Rusev Bull, but his name is just a period.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it means. Maybe let's see if Lana has tweeted anything out, because she's the one who tweeted that Rusev wasn't going to be in the match.
And is that pinned to her Twitter still? Is that the first thing that she?
No, that's not pinned. It was something from March. She retweeted his tweet that said it will be Rusev Day somewhere though.
God, it's just.
Yeah.
Why do WWE just don't? Why do they not think Rusev can go over? I feel like, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of CM Punk.
Yeah.
This gives me, like, he has the talent and the capabilities of being over. The crowd sees it. People at certain points at backstage see it, but Vince doesn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lana tweet says, all over the world, little boys and girls are celebrating Rusev Day. They smile with the greatest superstar ever. I've already spoke with WWE officials to change that match because I refuse to let my husband compete in a casket match at Great Royal Rumble. Happy Rusev Day. So, I think that's a storyline thing of why they pulled him, but I mean, honestly, Rusev could have just walked up and said, I don't want this match. Not because he doesn't want to work with Undertaker, but he knows he's going to lose.
I mean...
Because if John Cena couldn't last 5 minutes against The Undertaker, what's Rusev going to do?
I mean, to be fair for that particular line, that's just going to blow over into like a really good match at 35 in New York.
Hope so.
For Rusev, though, it's really more like they literally just feed, like, Undertaker needs to go over in Saudi Arabia. Maybe for this new market. We'll feed him to Rusev, and Rusev will take the pin. Like, no. Rusev is over. People acknowledge that worldwide and here in the U.S. Just push Rusev. Not that difficult to do.
Now, now also a telling thing, during Paige's GM promo on SmackDown, they edited out all Rusev Day chants.
Yeah, they did. If you go back on, like, I think Hulu and even...
Probably on WWE.com, too.
Yeah, and the network, if you rewatch that segment, it's been droned out.
So I don't know if that's just them. I can see Vince being that person that's getting pissed because people are chanting Rusev Day when Rusev isn't on screen.
That's true, but that's kind of like the CM Punk thing.
Right.
But I mean, to be fair, during that segment, is Daniel Bryan's going to be facing someone, and who do they want? They want Rusev.
Yeah.
So it made sense to be chanting that. It makes absolute sense.
But like, I feel like Vince hasn't learned that Punk leaving didn't end the Punk chants. And getting rid of Rusev...
It still hasn't. I mean,
yeah.
People don't do it as much anymore, but, I mean, Punk right now just did the weigh-ins for UFC 225 against Mike Jackson, I think his name is. So, he's still going to be around, and who knows where Rusev... If Rusev is leaving, because we still don't know anything about Rusev leaving yet or anything like that. And if he does leave, like... He's probably going to go to Japan, and he's going to get extremely over there.
Oh, yeah.
Or Ring of Honor. Or anywhere in the independents.
He might even go to Impact.
Yeah, he could go to Impact under some other Russian name or something like that.
Alexander something. I don't know. They'll recycle the Alexander from his early Rusev days.
Unless he owns Rusev. If he owns Rusev, oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a...
Or if he can legally change his name to Alexander Rusev something. Yeah. And then they could keep chanting Rusev, just like they did with Ryback.
Mm-hmm. And then also an Ultimate Warrior changed his name to Warrior too.
Yeah, so he could
get around the trademark.
So it's possible. I mean, I'm upset though because Rusev deserves better than this.
Yeah, I mean, I was the Rusev Day. I was not the biggest believer of it in the beginning, but still, he's gotten over. And Merch said because there's two different reports. They either put him in the Fatal 4-Way to keep him, or put him in the Fatal 4 because Merch sales were so good that it just made too much sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't understand Vince's capabilities of thinking what is and what isn't over. If depending on what is over is how the crowd reacts to people, then technically Rusev should be in the Roman Reigns spot, and Roman Reigns should be in the Rusev spot by that account. Just doesn't make sense.
Hopefully this is just
it's just an ugly rumor, and hopefully this will blow over, and hopefully Rusev will gain some sort of traction and get to be in a position of, like, I don't know, a really good spot.
Yeah. Because they've been so stop and go with him. I think ever since he lost the U.S. title to John Cena, he hasn't really been back to that level.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the storyline that came right after that, which was the Dolph Ziggler thing.
Yeah.
And then after that, then it was him getting the U.S. title back, but then he jobbed it out to Roman Reigns.
Then he got hurt.
He started Handsome Rusev and then got hurt, and then started doing Rusev Day.
And Handsome Rusev was over too.
And like everything this guy touched was just over. Like, I don't understand. It's over. Brings in money.
His career might be over.
It's just upsetting.
It is.
But I mean, that's it for now. Next week, I think we'll talk about the Superstar Shakeup, and I think I have an idea for something that we could do. Hopefully, that all three of us will be here for.
Yeah, hopefully.
Alrighty, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you, everyone, for staying tuned to our podcast. Special shout out to the Sachem Public Library for the continued use of their equipment and space. Continue supporting us by rating and subscribing through Patreon, Audio Boom, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play Music, and Apple Podcasts at Marks for Life Podcast. And now, check out our YouTube channel, Marks for Life, for our podcast playlist and other content. Please follow us on our social media on Twitter at Marks for Life Pod, Instagram at Marks for Life Podcast, our Tumblr page, Marks for Life Podcast, and our Facebook page, Marks for Life Podcast. And email us at marksforlifepodcast@gmail.com for any questions, comments, or feedback. Until next time, Audio Marks.